that's nonsense. Yeah, that's complete nonsense. We are going to make a huge investment in OpenAI.
Going to invest as much as 100 billion in OpenAI.
No,
Is that for the current run?
we never said we were going to invest $100 billion in one round. That never was said.
But
Yeah.
how about the
Yeah.
overall commitment? Because last September, you and OpenAI...
There was never a commitment. It was if they invited us to. So let's start over again.
You know the policy, if it bleeds, it leads. CC me if you need to, but I'm probably not gonna reply. Hold up, there's someone watching me from the other side of the road.
Someone who sent us Monica Lewinsky's poem that she wrote in 9th grade. Actually, not in 9th grade, when she was a 9-year-old.
Something different about you, call it into. Let's read line.
And I know I'm going to rot in hell eternally for this, but can I maybe just give it a sample?
Yeah, give a sample.
Okay, it was written, the poem is a poignant rumination on how, quote, I can be a delicious lunch, dinner, or breakfast, if you're weird. She goes on to describe herself, quote, as a round and flat piece of dough with lots of topping. I am a mouth's best friend. I make you say, yum, yum.
It's amazing how kids know at a young age what they're going to do with them. Monica Lewinsky's poem that is in here. Explain it.
Do we have to? I guess we should.
Well, we should.
We happen to have someone who sent us Monica Lewinsky's.
Obviously not working. It's just some kind of a stupid racket where the people are just reinforcing themselves. And so yes, we need to take way more risk in that department.
Well, I want to ask, to keep us in the concrete, I want to stay with that example for a minute and ask, okay, what does that mean, saying we need to take more risks in anti-aging?
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things.
Well, let's go back to that original reality. You're born in 1935, born in the Bronx, raised in Brooklyn. You're born, of course, with another name. Your given name is
Alan
Stewart Konigsberg. Take me back to that world.
Well, I was lucky. I had a loving family. I had two loving parents and a loving sister. And I was lucky in this sense, too. My mother had a number of sisters, and we had a close, extended family, and I was the only male. So I was pampered. My aunts pampered me, my cousins pampered me. I got excessive allowance, I got excessive attention. I had a wonderful childhood. In retrospect, at the time, it wasn't experienced as so wonderful. I figured, well, now I got to eat, I got to drink my milk, I hate milk. I got to go to school, I hate school. Or when I think back to Avenue J in Brooklyn, where I was growing up, at the time, it was nothing. It was a drab kind of avenue. But when I think back on it now, it was wonderful. It was full of great bakeries and stores with delicious food, and candy stores with great candy, and movie theaters. And, it was a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up in Flatbush, in the Midwood section of Brooklyn. It was really great. Now, and I go back very far. I mean, I remember when, there were American flags on the corner. We were fighting the Germans and the Japanese
Disrupt the 26 elections, which I think he's made it clear he has every intention of doing now. So I think that this should be a 5-alarm fire for everybody. People, I think, are starting to figure out that the 26 elections are very much at risk, and that his intention is to prevent the Democrats from taking the House or the Senate. And that, we are there now. People are always talking about when this happens or if that happens. We're there. Zionist as a proxy for a protected attribute as hate speech. So if somebody were to use Zionist, of course you can use it in the sense of you're a proud Zionist, but if you're using it in the context of degrading somebody, calling somebody a Zionist as a dirty name, then that gets designated as hate speech.
That sell traditional software. LegalZoom stock fell nearly 20%. Salesforce was down about 7%. Super pros at using AI to solve even more advanced problems. Maybe they would stand a shot at finding work.
Do you remember feeling fear of the Nazis or Nazism when you were a child?
It was like in my movie radio days. There would be the blackouts, and you'd see the searchlights in the sky, and it was very exciting and romantic, and there was no sense whatsoever of what, at my age, of what was going on in Europe. I mean, you knew that there was fighting and war, but there was no sense of threat. You knew that it was a given that we were going to defeat the Germans and the Japanese, and it was a given that they were never going to come over here, that there was no chance they would be able to. And yet, we didn't appreciate this. When I was in kindergarten, we had to wear around our neck these little plastic tags, and they were identification tags in case there was bombing and they found our bodies. And when we were in the kids, we'd sit in class, we'd suck on the tags, put the plastic in our mouth, and we didn't know. We just knew we had those, but there was no actual understanding. Maybe among the smarter kids there was, but not me. There was no understanding that, yes, they may be bombing us, they may get over here. We're in a war with a formidable enemy, and we could lose it, but there was no sense of that. America was just absolutely out front and
unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah.
In your memoir, Apropos of Nothing, this is how you describe yourself growing up. You were a small boy, loving movies, loving women, loving sports, hating school, and longing for a dry martini. You describe your bar mitzvah as an Ashkenazi luau. I love that. Wherein a young Jew was supposed to become a young man, but you remained a mouse. Tell me about who you were.
That sounds like me.
Yes, I loved it. I loved it. You then, in the sort of origin story of you as a writer, you start off as a gag writer, taking the train to the city and sort of being a punch-up writer and starting very quickly at 17, 18, making more money than your parents.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? How did you even understand that that was a job, given where you had grown up?
Well, when you get to be in the last year of high school, all my friends were planning on going to college and starting their what they want to be in life. And this one wanted to be a doctor, another one wanted to be a journalist, an architect. I didn't know exactly. I mean, I wanted
The drop in the hiring of juniors in firms that are adopting AI.
I had unrealistic ambitions.
The main target set in Paris was to keep global local temperatures well below 2 degrees Celsius and to limit the increased.
I did toy for a while with being a crime reporter. I thought about that. I would like to be maybe a crime reporter, but it was a passing thought. And I thought, would I like to be a cowboy? Would I like to go out? Me, who...
Have you ever been on a horse?
I was on a horse, but not with any great affection. I mean, and I think, what do I want to be? And I was always amusing when I was in high school and public, going back very early.
Epstein asked if he could have a plane pick her up in St. Lucia to fly her to, quote, the island. Rumbler replied asking, can we take a day trip to the island on Saturday, or is it too far? Emails then show a week later Epstein appearing to coordinate a private jet to pick her up.
Even in public school, I was amusing. And someone had said to me, why don't you write your jokes out? And then what am I going to do with them? And they said, you can send them in to some of these Broadway columnists who were many newspapers, and they had all these columns, and maybe get printed. Send one to Walter Winchell, send one to Earl Wilson, to these people that, there's gags in their columns. And I did. I typed them up and send them in after. And then one day, they printed one. And that was the breakthrough, and they started printing more and more. And some advertising company in New York said, who is this guy? They called the newspaper, they called the New York Post.
You're back in business. Isn't that cute?
And said, who is this guy that keeps appearing with gags? And they said, he's some kid in Brooklyn, and he sends them in after school.
Remember, to keep scrolling, you have to hold down the Alt button. Isn't
And they called me up. They got in touch with me, and they asked me if I'd come in for a possible job.
Despite the shameful and despicable